In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a clay Swedish fish using the slab method with texture. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take our slab. So a slab is a flat piece of clay. And we want to take our pattern of our Swedish fish and place it on the slab and just kind of press it down a little bit. Don't dig it in there, but just make sure it's laying flat. Then we want to take our skewer. We're also going to need a little knifey tool and a cup of water. So we're going to take our skewer and we're just going to lightly trace around the edge of the fish. I'm not cutting yet, I'm just tracing. We always want to trace first with a slab because if we make a mistake, it's very easy to just take our finger and wipe it away and draw a different mark on there, but once you cut, it's hard to put it back together. So now that I have this all traced out the way that I want, I'm gonna pick this up. Don't crumple it up, don't throw it out. Just put it aside for now, okay? You're gonna need it again in a few minutes. Then we're gonna take our little knifey tool, and it's just wood, or it might be a plastic one, and there's a thick side and there's a skinnier side. The skinnier side is the blade. That's the side you want to cut with. So that's the part that goes down into the clay. And really slow, notice I'm taking my time. I'm going to cut right along that edge. Now also notice I'm not chopping at it, right? I'm not doing this. When you do that, you wind up with really raggedy edges. So go really, really slow. If you need to take a break at any point, just take your hand off and it'll kind of stick in the clay. Don't take it out and put it back in because that's when we wind up with rough edges. Okay, so you just want to take your time turning on there, and this is really fun to do. Just make sure you're pressing down all the way so you're sure that you're cutting into the slab. Okay, now I have my fish complete. I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to squish it up and put it aside, and I will collect this and re-wedge it for another project for another student. Now, this is important. You have to flip this over to write your name because we have to make sure that the pattern fits on the front side. If you don't flip it over and you just write your name, when we go to put the pattern on later to do all the detail work, it's going to be on the side with your name. So right now, pick your slab up, flip it over. You're going to write your first and last name as neatly as you can across the back of the fish, okay? First and last name. Don't write first and last name, write your actual first and last name. And your class code, so 3F, 3M, whatever it is. Make sure you're digging in deep enough that you can read it, but not so deep that you are putting a hole in this, okay? And now you are ready to flip it over and start doing some detail work. So the first thing we want to do is these edges here will be very sharp once they're fired. So we're going to hold this in our hand, we're going to dip our fingers in water, and starting with the back first, we're just going to gently rub the edges. I'm not making this too rounded, and notice I'm holding it in my hand. Because if you do this on the table, sometimes it'll stick to the table and it's really hard to get it off without ruining your piece. Then I'm going to turn it over again with my plain side up and I'm going to rub like this. Okay. And now I have nice smooth edges. Now I'm going to lay it flat down again and I am going to take my pattern and I'm going to fit it on there and make sure it's fitting perfectly, that it's not, you know, like crooked on there or anything. Now, this part's really fun. I am going to take my skewer tool and just like we just learned about in printmaking, where you want to make an indent in the foam, we're going to kind of make an indent with this just like we did over our paper with the ballpoint pen into the foam. So I'm tracing over, but I'm not using a pen. I'm just using this skewer, but I'm using it like a pencil. I'm tracing over all of these little lines here so that I can really get a very accurate image of that fish. So I'm doing this top here. I'm doing these little lines up here for his fin, his little dorsal fin. I'm going to come over here and do the lines for the tail. Okay. Then I also want to go over the word Swedish. Now in here, I'm finding that when I do the really small turns, it can be a little tricky. So if you have to do that more in like little dots, if that works better for you, you can do that as well. Okay, so it's not going to work like regular, foundations writing where you just, do it in one swift move. You have to kind of like do it in parts when you're tracing these letters. So don't think of it as a letter, think of it as a thing that you're drawing. Okay, now I have just kind of a basic impression. I didn't do my scales yet. I'm going to show you the trick for that. So just gently pick it up. If it rips a little bit, it's not a big deal. If there's a little bit of paper stuck to it, it's fine. It will burn off in the kiln, trust me. And then you can go back over all of your impressions again, just to get them in a little bit more. Like the Swedish. That's the brand. Now, if while you're doing this too, you get any little goobers like you did there, you can just kind of brush them off with your finger. If you'd like to go over like the little fins, again, you can, to make them stand out a little more. Now, I would love to make these so that they could be hung almost like an ornament. So instead of us just drawing the eye, we're going to go all the way through the eye so we can put a string through it. So you're going to take your skewer, you're going to press it through the center and go all the way through, okay? Now in the back here, you're going to have some extra goobers, so you want to just kind of fold the goober down and blend it in. Okay, and you see how you can see the light pass through there? That's really important that it's open enough. Then, any of these little textures here, you can just sort of clean up by smoothing with your finger. Okay, you don't want to overdo it because then you're going to lose some of your designs. And then you can take the back side of the skewer. So this isn't the pointy side. It's the side that's just a little circle. And just go like this. And make all of your scales, filling them in completely. Don't go on the face, don't go on the Swedish part. Just fill in all of your scales so it looks like a nice texture. And then this is ready to dry and be fired.